About a month into our third quarter of 2023, and what does our housing market look like? Well, it's looking pretty much like the second quarter. Trends up as they were, down as they were, flat as they were, with one minor exception. Let's look at the numbers to see what that is. I'm Christopher McGee. I'm the owner of Halcyon Real Estate, affiliated with the Keller Williams Market Center in Salt Lake City, Utah. Today is July 24th, and this is the real estate numbers. I'm coming to you today from my new office. We were in Sugar House. We moved about 10 blocks south to Brickyard. I've got my office ready. The office floor is not quite finished, so I have an open door. There's still some folks working on things outside. You might hear some sawing, you might hear some sanding, you might hear some painting, you might hear some folks talking to each other that has nothing to do with my video. We'll get through it and it'll be fine. This is the real estate numbers. This is where you come every Monday to see exactly what's happening in Utah's housing market. Because if you want to know how the market looks, you want to know how it looks every week, not every month, not every quarter, not last year. You want to know what it looks like right now, and that's what I do right here. So we're going to go over, as always, 7 specific numbers. Those numbers are our number of inventory, the number of days on average it takes for a home to go under contract, the previous week's average list price versus its average sold price, how many homes were sold in the prior week, how many homes are currently under contract, how many price reductions were made on homes that are for sale in the prior week, and how many listings were either canceled, expired, or withdrawn from the MLS in the previous week. All 7 of these numbers together give us the proper multivariate analysis we need to understand the market right now. And if you want a better breakdown in depth on what each of those numbers mean, you can look at my real estate numbers explained video. It's a little bit longer than I try to make these. That should be flagged at the top right of your screen right now. You can get solid on that. Right now, let's look at this last week's numbers. All right, as always, I'll give you the number. I'll give you whether it's up or down from the previous week and by about how much, and I'll give you where that number is trending, if it's trending anywhere. So starting with our inventory, as always, our current inventory sits at 8,375, up from the previous week by about 80, and the trend is still up since the very beginning of April, the beginning of the second quarter. The average days on market in our prior week was 38. That is down just by 2 from the previous week. It's trending down still since the beginning of the second quarter. It's good to know that this number has been hovering around 40 really for a little over 2 months now. All right, the difference between our average list price and our average sold price. Our average list price last week was $588,959, where our average sold price was $582,085. The difference between those two numbers being $6,874. That's down just a little further away from no difference between average list and average sold price than it was the previous week at $6,523. Overall trending closer to no difference between those two numbers. And as you can see, the plot points have been kind of all over the place, or so it seems, but they've really been between $12,000 and $4,000 shy on sold price, away from average list price. The number of homes sold last week was 571. That is up by 30 from the previous week, keeping a steady trend of about 525 to 550 homes sold per week. You can see that it is slightly trending up. Number of homes currently under contract comes to 4,943. That's down from the previous week by about 20 and starting to trend ever so slightly down. The number of times that a seller decided to drop their asking price last week came to 845. That is down by about 120 from the previous week. It has been trending up overall since the beginning of the second quarter. Finally, the number of times that a listing was either canceled, expired, or withdrawn from the MLS. Number of times that happened the previous week was 297. That's down a mere 2 from the previous week. Still staying within the trend we've had of just under 300 per week, with that trend dropping slightly over time, as you can see. All right, what's the nuance in these numbers? Well, frankly, it's not a whole lot if you've been following along with this numbers and nuance set of videos for any amount of time. So things are as they've been essentially trending, as I said at the beginning of this video, since the beginning of the second quarter. Things that have been going up are still going up. Things that have been coming down are still coming down. Things that have been relatively flat still look relatively flat, with that one exception. Before I mention that one exception, I've just got to say I'm happy about our inventory continuing to rise every single week that it continues to rise. rise because what's so hard for a lot of home buyers in Utah is how inflated home prices have become in the last decade, and more particularly in the last half decade. We gotta understand that when Utah's inventory, when the number of homes available to buy comes down, because Utah continues to be a place where a lot of people want to be, that inflates prices more and more. It's just supply and demand. If supply goes down, demand goes up. Or in other words, if our inventory goes down, home prices go way up. So we don't want home prices inflating any more than they have to. So we love to see builders building, sellers selling, doing our best to strive to meet the demand of the many people who want to be here. Everything else essentially being the same. You could really watch my take in any of the videos that I've made over the last month or so to get a good idea of what our housing market looks like and the direction it's going, with this one minor exception, and that is the direction of our data set looking at number of homes currently under contract. That's been sneaking down for the last month. And there is a typical brief seasonal decline in home buying activity through the month of July, and this data set and the direction it's been going really lines up with that just right. As a result, we will expect to see the data set of number of homes sold. We would expect to see that drop over the next month as fewer homes under contract lead to fewer homes sold. Unless something a bit dramatic happens in our typical seasonal patterns, we will expect to see number of homes under contract come back up through August, and the following month number of homes sold come back up as a typical response. Whether anything dramatic happens or not, I'll be here to tell you how it's going. Alright, that's it this week, guys. Don't forget, if you want to stay educated on Utah's housing market, the best way to do it is to hit subscribe and just see where it's going week to week. Stay solid on these numbers, stay educated as a realtor who knows his stuff. And of course, if you or anybody you know is looking to sell or buy a home in the coming months, please feel free to reach out to me. You can reach me at my website, halcyon-realestate.com. You can reach me by email, christopher.mcgee@kw.com, or you can just reach right to my cell, 801-834-9713. I'll be happy to hear from you and happy to help. I'll see you guys next week.